Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome on Planorama webcast. Today we are going live from the 2016 IFM trade show, and with me, Lionel Prouve. Thank you so much for being with us, Lionel Prouve. You are, it's very long, so I need to read it. The business partner and innovation manager, perfect store and mobility for Unilever. In a few words, what is Unilever?
So Unilever is a global company. We have a turnover of 53 billion euro, and we are pretty much present in every single country in the world. We make 58% of our turnover in D&E markets, and we're present in four main categories. So we're present in foods, in personal care, in refreshment, and in home care. So our mission is actually to, one of our key missions is to obviously to grow, but to decouple our growth from our environmental impact. And so we have something called the Unilever Sustainable Plan, which is our commitment to a plan to reducing our impact, and then we regularly report on that. And one of the interesting things that we found is that we can actually prove with the information that the brands that have incorporated that sustainability message in them are actually growing faster than the rest of our brands that haven't done so yet.
But so talking about you, yourself,
yes,
as Lionel Prouve, are you Mr. Digital Transformation?
I have to say no, not at all. Actually, I would say that digital transformation is really the job of everybody in the company, and it comes from a very, very high level. So I would almost say that, you know, Mr. Digital Transformation in Unilever is our CEO. Already, he's pushing quite a lot. Our Chief Marketing Officer is also very much leading on these topics. And you find that in every single function, you have digital transformation at the core of a lot of things that are being done. So my particular role is to make that happen and to support the part of the business that I partner, which is basically field force in Europe.
So concretely, what
Yes.
does it mean? What is your work? What is your job?
So digital transformation it's everywhere. It's a trend. So it starts from things as simple as being able to book easily meeting rooms. We're encouraging virtual meetings. So we have things like Skype for Business. So we're trying to encourage not only between head offices to have people that join meeting remotely, from their laptops, but we're actually rolling that out as well on mobile devices, so you can do video calls from an iPad, etc. So there's a lot of things like this. It's about being able to have internal social networks within the company. So we have the equivalent of Facebook for companies called Chatter, where we encourage its use to kind of spread information.
That's awesome.
A lot of things like
wow.
this.
Amazing. What does the digital transformation means for your sales rep? Concretely.
So, concretely for the sales rep, it starts from something very basic, which is the device. So, even now in certain countries, but until very recently in lots of other countries, you had the rep going with their laptop, in the store, and now with the tablets, you don't have this issue anymore of doing my real job, in the store day to day, and then when I come at home in the evening, I have to key in all the information into a tablet. So it starts with that, but it's also having access to 3G, 4G connectivity, so being able to receive the information in kind of real-time basis. It's again, ability to use Chatter, its ability to share information, ability to have. So we're working a lot on the usability of the application that they use in the stores. Things like being able to have digital catalogs, run video presentations, so that they can actually support the selling process once they're in store.
We also talk about the IT, and there is like a new word called consumerization.
Right.
What is the IT consumerization?
So I'm glad you're asking this question because digital transformation, it's in one of the contexts is the context of the consumerization of IT. So what it actually means is that we have a demand that's coming from our own employees to replicate some of the things that they know in their private lives with a lot of apps that are coming and a lot of very easy to use solutions. So the whole consumerization is about, how can I have something quickly, very easy to use, that I can install myself, without having admin right on my laptops or calling 3 times my IT support to get this working, etc. So from an IT point of view and generally from an enterprise point of view, we have to kind of drive to solutions that are more intuitive, easier, faster to deploy.
It helps actually for the information flow.
Yes, it does. So, one of the other big trends, that digital transformation is enabling, is the ability to break down functional silos and make sure that the information is not only centrally held somewhere, but that it can actually be propagated, it can be accessed from anywhere, and by anybody that actually needs this information. And also a lot of information sharing and sharing experiences. So we get things like a sales rep sees a deployment of some promotion from the competition, for instance, in store, or something that's not been done properly in our own with our own brands, and they're actually able to get this information very quickly back to key account managers, for instance, so they can kind of have a conversation at head office level, or our own brands can react to much faster to a competition promotions, for instance, that is happening.
So we can imagine that all that, it's a lot of consequences for the IT departments.
I mean, my role is business partner, which actually means that IT has to get increasingly close to the business, because actually the business is increasingly getting close, maybe not to IT, which we would like them to be in some extent, but they're getting closer to the IT solution, to technology. With the whole consumerization, it's easier for them to very quickly do some experimentation, to very quickly realize the value of a new solution, etc. And so our role is to be close to that, to understand the requirement, and to be able to come with solution, or to assess with them a solution that they come up with, and also to be able to spread it across markets. So, as I say, Unilever, we're present in, I think it's about 160 countries, and basically it's a lot. And so an experimentation that's happening in one market, the idea for us is how do you actually make that something that is sustainable, repeatable, scalable, that you can then make sure that other countries can benefit from this experimentation.
Honestly, is it the end of the IT department?
No,
Still needed?
I don't think it is. I think it is needed because of this idea that sometimes we are able to assess, third party. We're able to see what can be scalable. We're able to share and to help to put people in contact, to share good practices that are coming from other markets. And we still, maybe the idea doesn't necessarily always come from us, but by the way, we also have to be a added value in the sense that we have to come with also innovative solution, and we can only do that if we understand the problems that the business is facing, or that our business functions are facing. So I think it's just more a closer relationship, but we have still distinct skill sets.
Does it also mean that the IT projects are not managed like before? There is a huge change in the way you manage them?
Yeah. So there is a change in the way the projects are managed indeed, in the sense that I think everything accelerates. But I mean, it's not only IT, right? It's the whole changes in the world are just getting faster. And the markets are getting, more and more. We have to be more reactive. We have to be more agile. The business has to be more agile in their processes, into what they do, and therefore IT has to actually follow that. And so, example is that we used to have big programs, 5 years programs, that it would take us 2 years to get to the first country, and then another 3 years to roll out everywhere. Now we have to First of all, I think we have to have more standard solution, more intuitive solution, maybe more off-the-shelf solutions, and it has to be delivered much faster. And I mean, if you start something in January and you haven't gone live with something in December, you're not going to have any budget for continuing that solution the next year. So it has to be faster, but not just because people are more demanding, but it's that because the whole market is kind of moving faster, and changes happen much quicker than before. So we have to be able to react and be more agile.
Things are changing, indeed, but not everything is changing, such as safety, security.
Yes, I think if anything that's getting, I don't know if worse is the right word, but it's getting more and more critical.
Yeah.
With everything moving on the cloud, and we have some big hacks happening. And when this happens, there's a huge cost for companies involved.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute mess. And a lot of what we do is about building a trust with the consumer. And I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that we lose their data, or their data is published everywhere, etc. So anything to do with security is still very important.
This was for the IT departments, but how about the users?
On the one hand, they're very much asking for these changes. So I talked about the consumerization, and that's one of the big driver. They say to us, I can kind of download Facebook and it works, or I can do very quickly, I can place a bid very quickly on eBay, etc. Why would I have to have a 6 months training on a very complicated IT tool to kind of just place a purchase order in the system? On the other hand, it also means that they have to learn quicker, the new tools. So
and you have to train them.
We have to make them intuitive.
Yeah.
We have to train them, but at the same time, a lot of that training and education has to be done by themselves. So there is an emphasis on them to be a bit more responsible with what they do, and to kind of become more familiar and IT savvy in some extent in using those new tools. And so there is a big change for them.
Today you have 2 new tools. Let's talk about them. There's Planorama. So I'm asking myself, there's a lot of no's because we're going live from this trade show. It's a solution that fits into your overall digital transformation.
Yep.
Can you tell us about it specifically?
Yes. So I think one of the driver of digital transformation, the kind of the key driver is, yes, it's agility, being more reactive, information sharing, etc. But you also have efficiency and cost savings, and I think we introduced Planorama with the view of generating cost savings versus audits that we used to do. So we had to do audit for measuring our perfect store initiative, making sure that we were going in the right direction, getting all these lovely KPIs on shelf availability, new product deployment, share of shelf, etc. But with Planorama, it's a tool that is much more efficient for us and has generated savings. So that's really the number one trigger of moving to Planorama.
How about implementation?
So the implementation, which is again totally in the idea of this digital transformation, is that it's on the cloud. It's an application that you need a user account, but it's an app that you download from the Google Store, the Windows Store, or the Apple iStore. So there is really very little footprint and very little on our own internal system and deployment methodology. So it's very easy to get on any mobile device, and then we don't really have to do anything remotely. It's all cloud. Obviously, we talked about security earlier, so all of that was checked. It's all fine, and therefore it's very easy to deploy. So for us, that's another plus. We don't have all the period of packaging the application, installing servers, etc. It just really reduces our time to market in a way.
And can you please tell us a little bit more about the project management side?
Yeah, so the project management, again, right, what we're looking at is having something that can deviate a little bit or localize to to some extent country by country, but that is very much a repeatable model. And so we're now live in, I think, 17 countries with Planocheck. And basically we have the first 3-4 markets where we had to kind of put in place a kind of a project management methodology. We at one stage we use a third party to support us doing that. But now we have a very repeatable model in terms of how a project is laid out. And so from the beginning of engaging with a new market to the time where they're operating as business as usual, it's basically 4 to 6 months. So again, it participates into that. How fast can you turn around a project?
But does it also mean that, but does it also mean that Planocheck is like an enabler in channeling like the right info to the right person at the right time?
Yeah, so that's the third point, right, of the digital transformation. It's about this information flow. And indeed, one of the things that we use, we don't only use it, I take the pictures and then it sends some data back to the head office and it's just an audit and that's it. It's actually getting the information then back, so getting the analysis back in the hand of the sales rep. So we use this instant report, which means that once you've done your audit, after a few minutes you actually receive the results of that. And then you are equipped with information for you to support your discussion with your contact in store. So that idea of the information flowing. The other thing as well is that the information that we get is to some extent is richer because we actually get pictures, etc. And that information can be shared to other departments in the company. So again, the key account manager can have access to that. Some of the categories can have access to that, and they can kind of leverage some of those pictures in their discussions. So that's really what it's done for us.
What a gain of time. So how did you do before Planocheck? Was it possible?
So I guess each country has their own way of doing it, but a lot of the time we would use external auditors. They would do manual checks. We would have, and seems some country you actually see people coming with the kind of a rubber, like a
like
a linear meter,
days.
and checking.
Yeah,
like back in the days, but the days was only yesterday, wasn't? We were not talking 15 years ago.
I know, but it goes so fast with the digital transformation,
Absolutely. So we were doing that, and then you would get some series of information and data back in the head office. But the reality is that the sales rep still needed that information. So the sales rep were doing their own check at the same time on the shelf. So with Planocheck, the idea is that you don't duplicate this work. You can actually get the information back to the sales rep, information back to the head office for your audit, and you just have one way of doing it as well.
Thank you so much, Lionel Prouve, for being with us today.
No problem, my pleasure.
For your nice answers. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Stay tuned on the Planorama webcast. In an hour, you will have and you will see another interview, and you can also ask all your questions on the internet. Stay tuned. Thank you.